Thank you, Mr. President. My country, Nigeria, knows the impact of armed violence, fueled by poor weapons regulations, only too well. The devastation caused by armed violence prevents my people from advancing their development and improving their own lives. This is why we are here. At the core of this treaty, it is humanitarian imperative. The notion that the harm caused by arms proliferated because of poor trade regulations is unacceptable, and the global community has the responsibility to do something about it, precisely because it is avoidable. In order for the ATT to be true to its humanitarian purpose, it must clearly reflect this vision in all its elements. The goals and objectives of the treaty must be clear, that trade regulation is not solely to level the playing field and make weapons trade more transparent. These regulations are a means, not an end in itself, to combat the unacceptable consequences of armed violence that plague my country, my continent, and the world at large. The newest chair's paper falls short of this promise, and we urge delegates to remember those millions of dead and injured every year, whose suffering gave impetus to this treaty in the first place. Conventional arms are transferred constantly to regimes that oppress their own citizens and commit serious violations of their human rights. If the ATT is to have any impact on those situations, it must clearly prohibit transfers of weapons where there is a substantial risk they will be used to commit these violations. A presumption against transfer is not sufficient. The devastation enabled by such transfers is unacceptable, and the obligation should be unequivocal, leaving no room for misinterpretations. Therefore, the treaty should clearly state prohibitive language that states shall not transfer weapons in such situations. UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon said at the beginning of the conference that we have a common and clear goal, and I quote, "A robust and legally binding ATT that will have a real impact on the lives of those millions of people suffering from the consequences of armed conflict, repression, and armed violence." I quote. Yet, they want provision that would ensure that impact on those who have already suffered these consequences, calling on states to commit to providing assistance to victims of armed violence in recovery and towards inclusion, has been removed from the operative section of the new draft paper. Mr. President, the unacceptable cost of poor arms transfers regulation is paid most dearly by those directly affected, victims and survivors of armed violence. States have the responsibility to ensure that those victimized by armed violence can access needed services to recover and live with dignity. Let us be abundantly clear. It is simply a matter of reaffirming existing obligations of states, not create new ones. As sovereigns and under international law, states are already obligated to fulfill the rights of all people living in their jurisdictions. Likewise, including this matter under international cooperation and assistance only reaffirms states' commitment to assist one another in meeting their obligations under international law, based on Article 56 of the UN Charter. It also entails no new financial obligations, as assistance will be voluntary by states in a position to do so. Exactly as in the case of the constant invocation of Article 51 of the UN Charter, the inclusion of victim assistance is simply to reiterate and reaffirm what all states have already committed to under international law. Mr. President, conventional arms are instruments designed specifically to inflict injury and death. Let us not trade victims for political compromise.